When you can't believe it, it's Borderline News, the authority on maybe.
Welcome to this week's episode of Borderline News. I'm Keith Andrews. Grab a tissue, because today we're talking about the economy.
And I'm Victoria Elder, and all the extra tissues I could find are stuffed in my bra. Hey, it's a ratings booster. Now, let the waterworks begin.
Today, we're going to talk about something that is on everyone's mind, the Texas economy. Now, it looks like Texas hasn't felt the full effect of the recession yet, but we don't have long to wait. Our housing market is getting worse. Jobs have not gotten significantly better, and our governor has run up a deficit larger than California's. I bet you're saying to yourself, hey, this is Texas. Who cares what happens in California? Well, California ran up a massive deficit and had to make huge cuts in state services and pay. California lost lots of jobs and homes, and it looks like Texas is gonna have to do the same thing. Despite Perry's conservative policies, it looks like we're following in California's footsteps, which is not good. It also doesn't help that we've barely heard our Republican lawmakers even mention our budget problem, even though it's kind of a big deal. Now, how is Governor Perry gonna deal with our economy? Does he have a plan that doesn't even involve hair conditioner? Or is his plan just to keep telling us that he has a plan? What do you think, Victoria?
Well, Keith, I'm not really sure what the governor's plan is, but I can tell you that it's getting so bad that more Texans may be making their homes on the range, since less people are buying houses and more are being foreclosed on in the Lone Star State. It's getting so bad that pretty soon we'll only be able to afford a used mobile home, and then you definitely cannot date me.
Oh, no.
If we keep losing our public services, we'll be forced to dump our own sewage and burn our own trash. But thank God the Republicans don't care about the environment. Even though we may not all be living in mobile homes, most of us aren't lucky enough to have taxpayers paying 10 grand a month in rent for us, like the governor does. I wonder if Pretty Ricky can find a spare bedroom for me.
Say what?
By the way, Keith, whose couch are you sleeping on these days?
My own couch, thank you very much, because it's much better than the doghouse. But enough about my personal life. Well, after months of denying Texas has big economic problems, Rick Perry is finally ready to take a break from his book tour to address our budget. Thanks a lot, Rick. While he was running for governor, Perry kept telling the voters everything was fine. Now he's saying we need cuts to balance our budget, and lots of them. But with such a big deficit, where do we begin? Oh, I know. Why not have all social service agencies make major cuts to their budgets? So I guess Republicans want thousands of poor and disabled Texans to lose access to medical care. But it's okay, they did it before. In 2003, Texas faced a large deficit, and Rick Perry cut funding for programs that help the poor. He also cut financial aid for colleges, which caused tuition rates in Texas to skyrocket. Which is why even though Perry brags about how well Texas weathered the recession, Texas is still facing a storm that includes the largest number of children living in poverty. It doesn't bode well for our future. But don't worry, I mean, how much more damage could he possibly do in 4 more years? Yeah, good times. Now for someone who knows all about good times, Victoria.
That's right, Keith, but it's easy to have a good time when you're so pretty. But you know who's not having a good time? All the outcasts who are getting their social aid cut by Pretty Ricky and his Republican posse. The Republicans want to cut funding for the elderly. You know, the old folks that are always drooling with the wrinkles and the crazy stray hairs. I'm not sure which is worse, the old ladies that grow hair from their chin or the old men that grow hair out of their ears. Gross. Who can blame Rick Perry for wanting to cut back on Medicaid, which is keeping these old geezers healthy? And those snot-nosed kids are no better. I know some people think that those little urchins are cute. No. But according to our Texas Republicans, kids are really just a bunch of freeloading ankle biters who expect us to pay for their chips. No, I'm not talking about their Cheetos. I'm talking about the Children's Health Insurance Program. So what if kids get sick? Our Republican Congress doesn't think it's our responsibility to keep those little brats healthy. Somebody just needs to tell those kids to stop picking their noses and quit eating dirt. Oh, and speaking of somebody who always acts like a child, Hillary Kennedy.
Aw, thanks for noticing. I am a kid at heart. Oh, hi. Okay, I know people just keep going on and on about Rick Perry, but he's gonna show you. Now, I know everything is bad, but you just don't get to be governor 3 times without a John Madden-type game plan for success. Boom. And for those of you saying that Governor Perry doesn't know nothing, you're wrong. I mean, he wrote a book and everything. It's got so many words it'll make you dizzy. I just wish it had more pictures. Now, I didn't read the book, but I already know what it's about, and I agree with what the governor says in the book.
Oh, no.
Stuff like, I don't need the politicians in Washington, D.C. telling me that I need clean water, Wall Street reform, and access to good health care. Washington doesn't know what they're talking about anyway. Enron would have been fine if left alone. And I blindly believe Governor Rick Perry has our backs. So I just know he wouldn't desert Texas in our time of need by going off on some book tour. I mean, that would just be stupid and uncaring. So trust me, Rick Perry's got a winning game plan to come up with a winning game plan. Makes sense. Right, Keith?
Well, Hillary, I'm sure lots of things make sense in your mind. Anyways, folks, that's it for this week's episode of Borderline News. We'll see you next week.